Buff Del Campo here. This is Kim's 1966 Dodge Dart. Original equipment was a slant 6, 225 slant 6, and a manual, 3-speed on the column. Everybody calls it 3-speed on the tree. Had a really nice automatic that she'd bought with another slant 6, and it was supposed to be good. She tore that automatic all down, put it all together. It was really nice inside. Put it all back together, put it in the car. But, you know, that brings up something else. Then you got to have a transmission cooler, where the car was never equipped with a transmission cooler. There's no provisions for a cooler in the radiator. So she ran she had to run new transmission lines. There weren't any to begin with. So she got those up there. And because we wanted to drive the car and check it out and everything, she just stuck the lines out the front under the bumper and looped them together to complete the circuit, basically. But that's not a cooler. It's a brand new one. And this is a serpentine type. It cools like this. Back when I was in the business, I was selling a lot of transmission coolers because people would buy trucks then that were not, they didn't plan on pulling a trailer. There weren't that many towing packages, but somebody would buy a truck that didn't have a towing package. They had to add on this stuff. So I was selling it. And there was a company called Hayden. I don't know if Hayden's still around, but they made transmission coolers just like this kind of stuff. I always used to hear this, that there was too much cooling if, you know, cold weather. And then they do damage to the transmission. Well, Hayden did an experiment in New York City. They took half their garbage trucks and ran them with coolers within the radiator, and they ran half their trucks with these not going through the radiator. So ice cold winter New York weather would go against this. And at the end of all the testing, a couple years of testing, the transmissions that had been cooled too much, no damage. Everything was fine. In fact, those transmissions lasted longer, probably because the other ones were getting hot. So, not because those were getting too cold. So, what I learned was probably can't overcool a transmission. Chrysler product, probably from a Plymouth or a Dodge or maybe a big Chrysler, but has an automatic transmission cooler. These little fittings that screw in there, and inside there is a cooler. Hot coolant comes in here, it gets cool, it comes down here. This is the cool end of the radiator. It's supposed to be cooling the transmission. On a hot day, with the thermostat wide open, you're running the car hard. I've seen as little as 3 degrees difference between the top and bottom, and the coolant's flowing so quickly, the engine doesn't overheat. But man, the temperature between the top and bottom tank isn't very much, so that transmission is being cooled by some pretty darn hot coolant. But anyway, yeah, it just goes across there. Old radiators back in the beginning were downflow radiators. Hot water went on top, went down, and the cool water was in the bottom. Later model cars, they try to make the cars lower and wider, and that really didn't work well, so they went to cross-flow radiators. Hot coolant goes in here, flows across. Cooler coolant goes into the engine. Transmission cooler right here is in the cool end of the radiator. Some people think cross-flow cools better. It doesn't. It doesn't make any difference which way the coolant flows. It doesn't know which way it's flowing. It's going from a hot side, air goes through there, goes to a cool side. This is a cross-flow radiator out of a Ford product. I think it was out of a Ranger or a Bronco 2 or something. But it's a bad radiator. It leaks. It's ancient. I don't know if it's ancient. It's bad. It has a transmission cooler in this side and the cool end. I think we're going to try to take this apart so we can see the transmission cooler, see what it looks like. I'm going to try to take it apart. And of course, the screwdriver slips. And prying the little tabs off this radiator with a little pry bar. You can see where I'm prying apart. Pull this off. Oh, it's got the plate type. That's like a General Motors one. The old General Motors are like that. That's what the transmission cooler looks like. And then this is a single row with a pretty wide rows. So that's what it looks like there. That's what the rows look like. Coolant from the cool end of the radiator flows around these plates. This is what we used to see in GM cars. So this is much later. Ford stuff, I guess they went to that. Kim handed me a pair of Knipex. I think she wants me to take that cooler out of there. So I'm going to attempt that. There's the tank. This This is what the transmission cooler looks like. It's 3-plate type. I was surprised to see that in here because Ford they just have a tube within a tube. General Motors usually had a single plate. This has 3 plates. General Motors had 3 and 4 plate coolers in the big diesel pickups, like 1-ton pickups. But that's about the only place I've seen ones like this before. So Ford came a long ways putting these in there. If this is an aftermarket, I would doubt this would be in there because that's an expensive cooler. It says made in Canada on it. I don't know. Could be Ford. Now, a comparison between this kind of cooler from inside the bottom tank of a radiator and this kind of cooler, which is separate outside. This is better because you always have cool air. You have control over it. Even the hot day, you have 100 degree air going by it. This, if you got an overheated engine, it also overheats the transmission. So I would say this would cool at least as good as this, probably better. And one of those big transmission coolers, 4 times the size of this, much better. This is way better than this. So this is what the factory does because it's easy, cheap. They put one thing in there, radiator. They don't have to do all this plumbing. Now, there are cars like police cars and trucks with towing packages on them and stuff. They have these. They have these for the transmission and for the power steering and for the engine oil, and they're all stacked up. You see a radiator, air conditioning condenser, and then a couple of these coolers out in front of it. And I've seen that on trucks, like 1-ton trucks that are set up for towing, and I've seen it on police cars. But average car, you're going to get this. Well, I just kind of went down a rundown on all this cooling system stuff. Some radiators, but mostly on transmission coolers. Just kind of trying to share some of what I've learned over the years, and that's some basics, and hopefully that can help us in decision making at some point, but also kind of helping us because I review it. Now I'm reviewing it myself and kind of know more what I want to do.